I've read that playing soft music or meditating in prayer will help calm the mother and even an unborn baby while undergoing the stress of marital breakup.
Your child can sense your anxiety and your stress. Subconsciously, they adapt their behaviour. They themselves may become more demanding, but if you can manage your stress and anxiety, your frustration, your anger, for whatever reason, because you don't want to display it in front of your child, then your child subconsciously feels much safer and in return will be more content and happy.
Indicates that the effects of separation on children can be limited and the child can emerge free of any long-term harm. Although there is no comprehensive formula to follow to ensure a positive outcome for the child, a number of key factors seem to be associated with this. Competent and warm parenting from both parents, continuing good relations and cooperation between parents, social support for the child, such as extended family and friends. Children this age require consistency and routine and are comforted by familiarity. Therefore, it's helpful to maintain normal daily routines, particularly regarding sleep and meals during and after the divorce. Provide your child with his favourite toys or security items and spend time holding him and offering physical contact and comfort. Rely on the help of friends and family and be sure to get plenty of rest so you'll be alert when your baby is awake.
The biggest misconception I have in family law matters, you get some parties who just want to have a good fight. And I'm telling you this now, if you have a good fight and you spend £20,000 in the privilege of legal representation all the way to a final hearing just in the finances, forget even dealing with the children, that's a whole separate set of costs. Just to hear a judge tell you what your lawyer or your mediator told you right at the outset of the case the outcome would be, you'll feel a lot more demoralised than you realise. There are no winners in family law matters, there really aren't. People don't understand that. It's not the same as other traditional forms of litigation. There is no winner, there is no loser. In some ways, both parties lose because the relationship's broken down and there's all the emotional issues that flow from that. So anybody who thinks, oh, well, I'll avoid mediation or collaborative law or arbitration because I want a good almighty scrap and that judge will tell my ex what they are and this, that, it doesn't happen, you'll come away feeling demoralised and depressed, and you very rarely get cost orders in family law matters. So what that means is at the end of your trial, when you try to say to the judge, oh, the other side should pay my costs, very rarely will you get them. Don't spend £20,000 on a lawyer to go all the way to a final hearing simply to get the outcome that you were told you were going to get in your first hearing. Your first meeting with your lawyer. That's the truth.
Traditionally, quite often it would lead the solicitors and the parties to having to go to court. And if you go to court, then there's a lot of time and effort involved, and that equates to a lot of legal bills. But also incredible stress, because you don't know what's going to happen next. Even the solicitors and the professionals don't really know what's going to happen next.
Children mediations are often the most difficult because they're so emotional, and it's difficult for parents often to compromise about their children in the way that they might more easily do when it comes to money. You can't cut children in half, for example, and so it really can be very difficult, very fraught and very anxious. And something I've noticed is that couples come into mediation often quite angry with each other and very suspicious and resentful. And it's a great sense of achievement when you've worked with a couple through mediation and you've been able to break down those barriers and help them to understand each other and understand each other's fears.
I think the beauty of collaborative law is that it's a small step, isn't it? It's a small step where both parties are saying to one another, well, I'm prepared to trust you enough to go and sit down with you and to discuss these very important things with you. And from that basis, trust can grow. And I feel very much that this is very important, that the more you communicate, the more you give it a chance, the more trust can grow from those small kernels.
That's what I always say to clients who are very reluctant to be in the same room as their former partner or spouse, that we can potentially try it by having shuttle mediation And it's often the way that once they've got used to the system or got used to what's the expectations are, they can then go into a room together. I have one particularly successful shuttle mediation where we had, I think it was 2 sessions which were in separate rooms. We started contact up and running and it started to progress, and then gradually the mediation moved so that they were both in the same room, but it just needed that sort of breaking in period where they just needed not to be in the same room. So even if somebody is very reluctant to be in the same room as their former partner or spouse, there are ways to overcome that and for mediation still to be used and still to be successful.
You become away from a poor relationship. The best thing you should do is try to establish a working relationship, at least for the purposes of your contact with your children, because the children will benefit from observing you both as parents working together. And from a child's perspective, the last thing they want to see is the opposite of gripes and anger, doorstep arguments, even telephone comments to the child as well as to the mother. The mother coming away from the telephone upset and angry, that doesn't help in an environment where you are wanting that child to see you with some respect and with love and affection, and to understand that notwithstanding you're separated now, as parents, they both, you both as parents, love and support that child come what may.
It was a very acrimonious separation with a lot of bitterness on each side, but don't ever remember being sat down and told what was happening, the facts of the situation. What I did hear was the bitter comments from each side about the other, and what I saw was all the revenge tactics being thrown around with not much regard for my sister and I stuck in the middle. I never thought it affected me that much growing up. It was such a normal part of my life, but it bothered me when I'd hear the comments about the other. I don't think they ever thought about the fact that it wasn't just their ex-partner that they were insulting, it was my mum or my dad. But it wasn't until a few years ago, when I reached my 20s and started to think more seriously about my romantic relationships and the future of them, that I realised how much of an effect their divorce had had on my views of relationships and of marriage. We're all a product of our experiences, and I can trace many of the issues I have now within relationships, commitment, trust, and even simple things like how to treat a partner, back to the divorce and what followed. I was never given a chance to talk it through with somebody, and my parents were too wrapped up in their own bitterness at the time to take a step back and think about how it would affect their children. I think that's why I think mediation and counselling are so important for everyone involved in a divorce. The effects can be long-lasting and life-changing, and I see a lot of defensiveness from parents going through a divorce. No one wants to admit that they're about to do something, however necessary it may be, that will have a negative effect on their child. But it's so important to address it early and to address it well, and your children will thank you for it.
The house actually has possessions, and in those possessions comes memories. And working with our clients, those possessions can be quite painful memories. And so actually working with them in deciding which items are to be removed, we create a better environment for them. We work to create calm within the home so that they feel that there is a sanctuary for them to actually return to, and they feel it is home and that they can start to love that house again. And working with coaches and lawyers, the suggestions they put forward to their clients in helping them to move forward, we actually see that through.
My first tip would be very much to be organised. Just knowing where to obtain the information that you need in order for your accountant to review. So for example, knowing where the bank accounts are held, how to get hold of bank statements, whether there's online filing or whether you actually have manual copies held at home. Just very simplistic things, but being organised would be my number one top tip.
Bowen works on the body in many levels, but in the case of somebody who is in the middle of a divorce, they're going to have a lot of pent-up emotions, and maybe not so pent-up emotions. Some people may actually be more volatile than they usually are. But Bowen can help in all these instances, as well as bringing the anger out. He can also rebalance the body to make them calmer and not so volatile. Somebody who's in the middle of a divorce, or maybe they haven't got to the point that they're in the middle of a divorce, but they are in an unhappy situation at home. Very often they are very stressed because they know they need to make some sort of decision, but they can't bring themselves to make a decision. And again, through my own experience working with various clients, I have found that Bowen has helped clear their mind and allowed them to make certain decisions.
Okay, this divorce means the end of my life.
This divorce means the end of my life.
And the answer is no. It's gone.
So how do you do that?
Oh, well, how long do you want to be here for while I explain?
The dummy's guide.
No, it's going into the theta brainwave, supervising the change and then just checking to see that it's done. But I'm very fast, so you don't realise there's all that behind it.
But he's talking to my subconscious.
I'm talking to your subconscious mind.
What I find amazing is you go into kind of quite deep stuff, and yet it just feels fine. There's
All
no,
right,
there's
but
no
do you feel
kind
the
of
difference?
sense of I don't feel like I'm having to go into deep into anything. It's actually very calm, the whole process, which is what really surprises me.
You don't have to feel the pain.
Yeah, that's great.
Your unconscious mind will just recognise it for you,
Yeah.
and we will get shot of it with your permission. The fear, the betrayal, the lack of trust in yourself and in anybody else, the feeling that you're inferior in some way or wrong or just on the trash heap, whatever it is, it makes a huge difference. And so, I mean, a divorce is never easy, but it doesn't have to be as difficult as it seems to be for so many people.
So tapping is working on energy channels of the body, energy meridians in the body. Acupuncturists use needles. We tap to stimulate the blocked energy. Tapping is used by many people and by many professional people. Counsellors, hypnotherapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors often share EFT tapping because it is so successful to bring down the anxiety levels. The anxiety levels that you subconsciously transfer to your child. So if you're wanting to be more calm, confident and clear about what's going on, have a go at EFT tapping.
The problem with the breakdown of a relationship is you're often left with a feeling of having unfinished business, unresolved issues, things that you didn't say, things that you wanted to make clear, things that you wanted to rant and rave about. And the problem is that if you try to deal with these in everyday life, what might happen is that you moan to your kids about it, not going to be helpful for them. They need to feel positive about their other parent. You could end up by blurting some of the issues that you have, the angst that you have out when you're doing the handover with the children. Again, not a good idea, often happens. You could end up by taking various forms of revenge or trying to tell everybody, including all your mutual friends, etc., his family, whatever. And the problem with that is that it can often get you into more trouble, really not resolve the issues, but just perpetuate them. So what I help people to do is, even if they're not in front of their ex, I help people to reach a place of resolution, a place of completion, if you like. And it's amazing how effective it is, even if the person that you're talking to isn't there, actually getting it off your chest, and we've got some really, really good tips and techniques for doing that. And again, the forgiveness process is one of those, so that you're all clear, you're all straight, you've said your piece, you've said what you're still sad about, you said what you think you added to their lives, you said why you often got angry with them, you said what you regret, perhaps. Now, the interesting thing is the person doesn't need to hear this. But once you've expressed it, it's then possible to move on and create a totally different relationship with them. Because it has to be a totally different relationship with them. You will always be connected if you have children. You will always need to communicate with that person. So I can help you to actually express what you still need to say. It's a little bit like having the last word, but in a safe and controlled environment. So it doesn't hurt anyone, it doesn't damage you, and it doesn't damage your children.
There's a difference between being a coach and being a mentor and being a therapist or a counsellor. Now, a counsellor would help you to uncover what's happened in the past. So you might have some hidden issues from your childhood that have really sort of formed you and developed you and made you who you are today. Things that have been kind of instrumental to making you who you are today, but have also been hindering you from moving forward. But a coach like myself, we talk about your future. So my business and my passion is to get you into your future, get you stop looking at the past, talk about maybe limiting beliefs that could stop you from moving forward. What are those limiting beliefs? Oh, I'm such a failure. Oh, no one's ever going to want me again. Who's going to love me after all my ex-husband or my ex-partner said I was rubbish, so I must be rubbish. And all those limiting beliefs that that we tend to have, those gremlins that every time we're trying to make a step forward, they take us 10 steps backwards. I'll help you through that journey. It's a lovely journey. It is traumatic. I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to, give you sort of any illusion. It can be traumatic, but you will, with me, emerge on the other side better, bolder than you've ever been, reinvented, released, passionate about your new, your new life and your new you.
Do you think that it's easy for families who are no longer living in the same house together to spend Christmas together?
Most families no, but it's easy for us.
And why is that?
Because you're good friends with Dad.
And has that always been the case?
Since I can remember, but I'm guessing it wasn't just after you had broken up. That's just a wild guess.
It was trickier then. And so what's your message as someone who's 13 to parents who are going through family breakup with regard to Christmases in the future?
With regard to Christmases, break up right, please don't fight.
And what does that mean?
It means break up without fighting loads and still be friends. So you can spend Christmas together and not annoy your kids.
I've been there myself. Having gone through the separation with the father of my children, I know what it's like to lie in my bed at 2 a.m, wide awake, wondering how I messed my children up for life. And being a child psychologist didn't help. I thought that out of all people I should have all the answers. But at the time, I didn't. So I made my first priority to do whatever I could to look after the emotional well-being of my children. To make them feel happy in their own skin. To help them trust that the world still is this safe, warm and loving place. Fast forward to now, I know that it is possible to have happy, confident, resourceful, resilient and all-round well-adjusted children after divorce. I know what it takes to tend the feelings of constant underlying anxiety where you're just feeling like, I'm trying so hard but I'm just not sure if I'm getting anywhere, to feeling at ease and confident and being able to say to yourself, I know what my children need and I can give it to them. I'm pretty much the parent I always wanted to be.
Do babies know if their parents aren't happy? Does family separation harm children who are less than 2 when they split? Do babies cause divorce? Mark Golston, MD, says that children per se don't cause divorce. My 3 children have grown up into teenagers, and my youngest only remembers how mum and dad have always lived apart. Even though the stress of breakup did, I'm sure, impact upon his health and psychological development, I'm not worried. Because his dad and I have worked hard to be civil and kind, and to let the love of our children spread out into the love of everyone whom our children care about. My son Joe says, our son Joe says, please don't fight, break up right. I like to say, I don't have a broken family. I have an extended family.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Sing parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there, and she was a true love of mine. Tell her to make me a cambric shirt. Sing parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme, without any seams or needlework, and then she'll be a true love of mine. Tell her to find me an acre of land. Sing parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme, between the salt water and yonder seabed. Then she'll be a true love of mine. Tell her to plough it with a sickle of leather. Sing parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme. Bind it all up with a bunch of heather. Then she'll be a true love